Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your media and production questions 7 days a week. Alexander Knight's our reader today. Let's dive right into the first question.
First one coming in is from Jacob Goodnight in Indianapolis, Indiana. How do you best manage live streams with ASL, translated CC, and audio interpretation? We want attendees to have native player control over these feeds rather than being burned in.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
So there are, of course, many ways of doing this. I would be touching into the most modern way that we are using it today. And we actually have a project plan that maybe or maybe not become something, but we will be using the Zoom client because Zoom is handling all this in a very elegant way for us, both the voiceovers or the translated audio, the ASL in this case, in a separate window, and everything is automatic. So if you have a floor language of English, you can translate it automatically to any other languages almost. I think it's 45, maybe it's even more. The only thing we have trouble with in Zoom these days is if the floor language is Norwegian, we have to do that with an extra hoop out to another transcriber service and get that back into Zoom. So that is what I'm researching at the moment.
And just curious, Ronnie, when you're doing that translation, say from English to another language, because I'm assuming I'm making an assumption with Jacob being in Indianapolis that's his starting point. How do you find the latency when you're using the Zoom Translate?
It's a little bit slower than if I had a professional person sitting there, but you can in Zoom toolsets or the APIs, you can have a person sitting there and doing the translation mechanically via stenography, etc., like they do in the courtroom. So as soon as you connect these to the third-party systems, that is similar. I can't see any latency that is increased. Automatic, it's very, very good. I have no problem using automatic translation to Norwegian from an English-speaking, German, French, etc. So that is working very, very, very nicely.
Well, if I could find a multilingual octopus that could do, 45 languages, that maybe I could get away with it, but I think I'll stick to the auto. Go ahead, Guy.
Yeah, there's other folks in the community that have a lot of experience with this. I've helped on some productions with Tucker Dragoo, and that's who I would recommend reaching out to. I can give you a sampling, though, of some of the projects that we've worked on where he uses the cloud. So basically the ASL, or not the ASL, the captioners would come into a Zoom meeting. We would push them into a breakout room with a feed. So in the cloud, we can do... we could host the meeting, plus we can scoot these vMix instances in that give them program. So now they're able to watch the show, and then they get a URL that feeds that captioning in for that feed. So it's we have a Google spreadsheet that basically just has their URL to type in, and that pushes it into that feed. As far as ASL, even Apple, from what I've seen, is they just carry it as a separate stream entirely, so that way you could have the PIP on, and it's not overwhelming for the people that want to enjoy the whole screen activity or whatever else is on the screen, and that could be blocked. So yeah, depending on what level you're doing this at, it helps to have a bunch of computers and that's what the cloud's for, spin it up, push a bunch of people around, because when we did ours, it was 5 different people coming in, so I had to push them all into breakout rooms as they arrived before the show, and then they sat in there with these Zoom vMix clients that were basically helping them hear the show.
And Mickey in the chat accurately mentions that there are translation and captioning services that can provide you dozens of people, and that's not a new thing. I know it's not a new thing, but it's a dollar thing. Next question.
Andre Dole in Berlin asks, recommendations for a movie or series that is visually exciting.
Alexander, start us off.
I just finished a series on Netflix called Black Rabbit. Interestingly, how I got into it was I randomly, through the YouTube recommendation feed, discovered a behind-the-scenes video with the set designers and cinematographer, how they built this interior set for this multi-story building that actually exists in New York, right by the Brooklyn Bridge. I believe they said it was the oldest building in New York. And of course, that set is supposed to be the interior of the bar that the two brothers have in that movie, which is starring Jason Bateman and Jude Law. amazing. That the level of obsessive detail that they went to build this set and the lighting is just a stunning movie. It's a great story too, but man, visually it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I also appreciate the production design in that. I have trouble watching more than one episode at a sitting because they're just people make bad decisions, and I just want to shout at the television. It makes my blood pressure go up right before bed, and that's not that's no good. Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, it's a couple of years old now, but if you really want to take a look at a film that really has that nostalgic black and white look, go back to the series Ripley from this is from Netflix, and they just captured this great Steve's Island, this great black and white noir look. Although you would think it was shot on some of the great old panchromatic film stocks, but no, it was shot on an Arri, with a modern day digital camera, Arri Alexa LF, captured in color and then shaded in DaVinci Resolve. They desaturated it, increased the contrast, and the lighting is just great too. They use a lot of hard light and a lot of soft wraps for fill. They did day for night for scenes that were outdoors because, hey, it's black and white. You can kind of get away with that without having to use blue to fall back on blue. But it just has a fabulous look to it. It really takes you back to the Antonioni and the Fellini films that were all shot in black and white. And that series, just a marvel to look at. Interesting shot after interesting shot.
Michelangelo Antonioni, the blow up. Go ahead, Alexander.
Courtney, I'm going to add that to my list. Do you happen to know what lenses they use? Because some of those shots, when you were scrubbing through that timeline, and it remind me of old movies that were shot on VistaVision that have this just massive scale to it.
They used, yes, I do know, they used Panavision lenses, Panavision Primos. They were kind of still in development at the time. But Panavision lenses, they shot at full gate 4K, 4.5K, full frame, and then they cropped it to 2:1 to give it, widescreen. But those were the lenses they used from Panavision that were extremely sharp and extremely fast.
Ronnie?
Yeah, so Dark Wolf, the terminal list, that is season 2. So it's based on the first season, which is similar. That is one amazing action series that is running now. I think it's on Prime. Yeah. Vic says it's on Prime. That is a really cool series. So if you like action and killing and running around and doing stuff, that is for me. That's Jack Bauer version 2.
I've been watching Landman on I think it's on Paramount. That's a really, really great show. Billy Bob Thornton does a phenomenal job, and the look, and it has a very distinct grading to it. Visually very interesting. I've also been watching for the first time on Netflix the Mr. Robot, and that's I'm sad that I missed it, but I'm happy that I have something because I'm in a little bit of a doldrum right now in terms of shows, and it's been filling a spot. I just got into season 2, so I'm working my way through it. Let's go on to the next question.
Asmuk Gajar in Cape Town asks, Synology DS1517 Plus run out of capacity. 5-drive unit populated by 16 terabyte drives. No hot disk. RAID 5. Have a new Synology 16 terabyte drive. Question, can I simply insert drive in the 5th bay? Can be done with network attached storage running, or switch off, insert drive and restart.
Good, Ronnie.
Last time I did that is hot swapping, and this Synology specifically, I'm 99.9% sure it supports hot swapping. So just leave the unit connected and running. Open the door for the 5th bay. Insert a disk. The disk will be recognized as an empty disk by the system, and then log into the system and just discover it. Go to expand and add this new empty disk. just beware, it takes a long time to add a new disk to a Synology RAID setup. So I think you should plan to do it in the night or even over a weekend, because it takes many hours to start integrating that new disk. So just do it and report back how it went.
Guy?
Yeah, before you do it, make sure you back up all that data. So depending on who else is using this thing, yeah, you'll want to make sure that there's a USB port on the back that you can hook up another volume. So that's the way I have mine set up, is the entire volume is backed up to another external USB disk. So when you, as Ronnie said, when you insert, like here's my Synology spare, when you insert that inside of that, you'll go into this area, which is the storage pool, and these three dots right here will allow you to recognize that new drive, and then you can go ahead and rebuild. Chris is holding up his hot spare too. So a lot of us who do this stuff have the drives ready, because there's nothing worse than having to wait for FedEx to, it's like, hey, everybody's in a degraded state. But yeah, the important thing is to make sure that your data is backed up in three places, two on location, and then one can be offsite. So that way, in case something happens, I don't know how valuable this data is, but just be careful. I mean, it is one of those things where it appears easy. Just put it in the drive, expand the storage pool, and as Ronnie said, it'll take a while for it to recognize and rebuild, because you're basically spreading all of those bits across more drives now because you've added the additional one. And best of luck. Or this might be time to where you buy the newer model and upgrade to 10 gig and then just use that one as the backup. So depending on how valuable the data is and how many people are using it, you might want to consider that as well.
Ronnie?
Yeah, just one add-on. If the system already is in a degraded mode, you should never do this. So if you add a fifth disk to a degraded mode, the systems normally would see that as a repair disk and try to fix the ones that are bad or starting to go sour on you. So make sure that the RAID is in a perfect state before you do that. And another thing, I guess the reason why you're asking this question is because you need to have it online maybe, and it causes some trouble if you had to shut it down. And as Mickey said in the chat, you can also just shut it down and make sure everything is done offline and without power. And then when you start it up, it will do the same thing as you do it with the hot swap. But if you need to have this online running for a company or whatever reasons, and you can't shut it down, it's safe to do it. But of course, if you can shut it down, you can do that as well.
Chris?
Just in general, Hosma, I deal with tons of data all the time. I'm probably sitting at about 100 terabytes of online like attached storage that I have access to, and you just be super careful. Just be super careful. Yeah, like when Ronnie said, "Well, I'm pretty sure you can hot swap it." Why take the chance? Just shut it down. Like, hey, everybody, we're going to shut down. Just you have to be careful around your data.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. And Mickey pops into the chat there. He had the same sentiment. And even if they advertise that it is a thing that it can do, it doesn't mean that it's the best practice or you should do it. And when it comes to data, I'm better safe than sorry. I actually like Guy's suggestion about getting a whole nother Synology, because that's what I ended up doing. When it was time for me to upgrade, I got a Synology with more bays, and then I took the one that had fewer bays and took it to the office, and now they talk to each other. So, if anything happens, I've got that offsite backup and I'm not waiting for it in the mail. It's like it's somewhere I can drive to that's, not a whole project to get to. So
there's no hard drive nirvana. You're going to be buying drives. This is not the last drive you'll ever own. It has to happen.
And remember, if you also are in a similar situation to Dr. Hosmek and you have your Synology or whatever the NAS is set up in RAID 5, remember, you can't it's probably not good just to grab a drive that's laying around, because you're going to be limited by whatever is the current smallest drive in your RAID configuration. So just if you're doing what Dr. Hosmek is doing and you have all the same size drives, then it's kind of a no-brainer. But you do have to get careful about how you do that if you're going to start mixing and matching. Ronnie?
Yeah, there is a last thing. If you're buying a new RAID, never purchase all the discs from the same provider the same day in the same order. Just order some from one, order two from the next, and two from the third provider, because that way you are sure that you get discs that are not in series. And if that is a slightly bad batch, you will get much happier when one of those in the single batch is failing and the four other discs are not. So just this is something I do all the time. When I order new discs, I order them on different dates or on different providers, so that I have different discs, but of course the same type and same model number.
And if you really want to get crazy about it, you can probably decipher either by the naked eye on some manufacturers, and others you might need help from ChatGPT or another solution. If you look at the serial numbers that are on the hard drive, often they'll have a sequence that is, there will be a certain part of the serial number is going to tell you the month and the day and the time when it was created, and another place will tell you what factory it was created in. And then finally, you'll have a unique identifier for that specific drive. So if you get really particular about memorizing all those things and you're managing a lot of drives, you could probably start to notice, oh, this is how Seagate does it and this is how Western Digital does it. But even if you buy from different manufacturers, if you want to be extra careful, even look at those serial numbers just to make sure that you're not accidentally introducing somebody that had a rough day at the hard drive factory into your into your RAID storage. Next question.
This question is coming from Paul of Houston, Austin, Texas. How do you manage sound capture in unpredictable or noisy environments?
Courtney.
Well, Paul, capturing sound in noisy environments where you know you're going to try and record something that's very loud, or you are expecting to record something, you can plan ahead. This used to be different in the analog days and before digital recording. Then it changed again at digital recording, and then it changed again when we came to 32-bit float recording. It used to be we'd have to use a limiter if you're going to record gunshots or cannon blasts or the sound of a jet aircraft passing you very closely. And I've recorded sounds of 747s taking off at LAX from the median between the runways with the airport's permission, and that is really noisy. But things you have to protect against is going oversaturating the tape in the analog days, or exceeding the recording capability of the digital bit depth. In other words, if you're at 24 bits or 16 bits, you can easily exceed the maximum number of bits there with your dynamic range. But these days with 32-bit float can capture 1,500 dB, a little over 1,500 dB of dynamic range. So you don't have to worry about exceeding the recorder's capability of recording it. What you have to worry about is the microphone's maximum SPL, which is sound pressure level. Most microphones, dynamic microphones, have usually a higher SPL than condenser microphones. Like an SM58, I think, is about 94 dB. Remember, the threshold of pain is about 120 dB, so if your ears are hurting, it's probably too loud for your microphones. So keep that in respect. And you might want to turn on a pad. If you have a condenser microphone, you might want to turn on a pad in the microphone so that you don't overdrive the preamp, your microphone preamp, which is where distortion can occur, because preamps have limitations as well before it even gets to the recording media. So you might want to attenuate it if you're going to try and record something that is unusually loud in a factory, like in a factory environment, or gunshots or explosions.
And Paul mentioned in the chat that he was taking a look at from Sony, there was the ICD UX570. And while it is a voice recorder that would be good for maybe taking, voice notes to yourself so that you didn't have to write something down or you're trying to get ideas out, it'd be a big stretch to call that a field recorder. I wouldn't expect to spend $130 on a professional piece of equipment that's got solid preamps and all the things that Courtney's talking about. So definitely look into established brands. I know a lot of folks in the OH community use sound devices or things, the higher end series from Zoom, those sorts of brands. But Also, that's a great if you want the most robust audio panel. That's typically on a Wednesday for office hours. And if you were to say compare your favorite high points of your favorite field recorders, there's probably a robust conversation in there. Next question.
This one's from Danny Grizzle in Longview, Texas. Long ago, Symantec MORE was an outlining and presentation software for Macintosh. I found it useful for organizing content creation and production management. What tools are useful today for someone brainstorming and developing a content series?
Alexander?
I would strongly suggest you look at the Omni group of software products. They've been making really slick, properly native Mac apps since the 90s. They actually have an app that was probably made for you, and it's called Omni Outliner. Now, the cool thing about it is that they're one of the few companies, although they have subscriptions, they still offer a perpetual license for this, and they do have a trial for, where you can try it here, and you can see some of the screenshots here. They're really, really great Mac apps. If you go to pricing here, you can see they've got a V5 Essentials license and V5 Pro license. I'm not sure what the differences are, but check that out. They're reasonably priced, and they're just great Mac apps.
Although, I think I would miss these right here, these floppies with more on it. It harkens back to a simpler time. Another thing that I really like to use when I'm organizing or brainstorming even is I really love the concept of a mind map. And there's a great piece of software called MindNode that allows you to make these little tree maps of your thoughts and collapse them. You can put them either in, depending on what your project is, you can arrange them differently. You can auto-size the branches, but it keeps it organized really well. I find that if I'm thinking about a presentation that I'm going to make, or I'm going to get a keynote, or I'm going to do a training, or make a talk with my team or something like that, I will stream of consciousness throw a ton of things at MindNode. And then when I go back to my slides, it's almost as if every stem off one of those main branches ends up becoming the slide. And then all the builds and animations and things like that is like the next level down in the MindNode. But even to move things around or just to keep notes, super powerful tools. But yet I will second the Omni group apps, though. While I don't use Omni Outliner, I do use Omni Graphel and Omni Focus, and both of those are really good. Next question.
Mike Beardmore in Bedford, UK asks, can you explain DisplayPort versus HDMI and Apple Silicon MacBook outputs, and which is best for monitors?
Alexander?
Well, one of those two has a connector that sucks less. So DisplayPort, I like that connector a lot more. It just seems more stable, and they tend to have a locking tab which snaps into place, which I really, really like. The other thing, technically, the latest DisplayPort standard, if you compare it to HDMI, has about twice the amount of bandwidth, so it could support much higher resolutions and refresh rates. Of course, Apple computers do not natively come with DisplayPort, so if you want to hook up a DisplayPort monitor to a Mac, that is very easy, and it's just a matter of just buying an adapter or getting a cable that goes from either HDMI to DisplayPort, or for example, you go USB-C to DisplayPort, that kind of stuff. So it's very easy to adapt them. But, if you can, DisplayPort, just a nice connector.
Ronnie?
So DisplayPort supports a much higher bandwidth, as Mickey said in the chat. And this DisplayPort is normally on your, which the question is asking about, on the Apple Silicon, is just coming out of the Thunderbolt data port, which similar looking to a USB-C connector, which is also a USB-C bus in behind. So depending on what you are connecting to this plug on your Mac Mini or MacBook Pro or whatever, it chooses the type of connectivity based on the product you are attaching. So if you are attaching a really, really expensive panel, which do insane high resolution and frame rate, it will probably be a DisplayPort, which is really, really high bandwidth and requires good cabling, like Thunderbolt 4 or Thunderbolt 5. And in other cases, if you just connect a simple adapter, I have a DisplayPort adapter coming to my side monitor here where I have the chat, etc. And that is just a low bandwidth, low resolution converter from the same type of Thunderbolt. And I might even think this is USB protocol. I have to check that. So the thing is that DisplayPort is much higher bandwidth, it's much modern, it's much more advanced, and it supports much more displays on the same kind of cable, daisy chained after each other. And HDMI is just a single channel. And in Apple's case, the HDMI coming out of some of the devices are really problematic for sending further to other equipment as well. So ask me how I know.
Another thing to be mindful of is if you're buying adapters or cables with the cables, they're going to have a little bit more of a controlled standard. There will be a version number or something like that, and you'll be able to see, okay, what is the current standard and what are the specs of that standard mean? It gets a little trickier when you get into hubs and docks and dongles and adapters, because you'll see one that is half the cost of all the other ones and it says 4K, but it only does 30 hertz. So then you get into this situation where, okay, it's slightly off spec, and then that gets really frustrating, because like I even have even the USB-C to HDMIs, like the original ones that Apple came out with only did 30 hertz, and then they changed the model number of it, but the physical design is identical. But the new one does 60 hertz. And then so I end up with like little Sharpie marker on the side of my nice white adapter, because I got to try and tell one from the other. The other thing to think about is with USB-C, DisplayPort is part of that spec. So if you want to take the adapter out of it, if you don't have a need for a hub or a dongle or some other piece in between, you can get a USB-C to DisplayPort, and that'll be able to make that conversion just fine. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Just a short additional information about Thunderbolt and speeds and USB-C. We had a discussion, me and some other guys earlier today, and this is something that is to some frustration for people. Just make sure that you know what spec the cable you are using is actually delivering. So choose a good cable. This is just a short link to OWC, which lists up the different types of speeds. So Thunderbolt 3 is the same as the normal USB-C specification for 3.1, I think, and then you have 4, which is 40 gigabits, and actually 80 gigabits if it's a dual channel going forth and back. And make sure that you have the correct cable for what you're trying to do. Are you going to add a lot of devices on one of the buses? Make sure that at least the first cable is really, really high speed.
Next question.
This question is coming in from the QR code called Paul Kovacs in Elkhart, Indiana. Since TiVo quit making their TiVo boxes, which my father-in-law's TiVo for antenna, not paid cable, just died. Anyone know if there is an easy alternative for him? I see things like Tablo and HDHomerun, which requires another receiving stream box.
Courtney.
Yeah, I have the Tablo box, and I've been pretty happy with it. I don't like the new ones, though. The Tablo 4s. I have what they call the Tablo Legacy box, which is this black one here. And the difference between the Legacy box and the newer ones, which are round and are white, is that the old one recorded, you plug a hard drive into it. It has an antenna. Mine has 4 tuners built into it. It's plugged into an antenna. And you plug in a hard drive into a USB port on it, and you can plug in a spinning hard drive or a solid-state drive. I think I've got a 4 gigabyte plugged into mine. And it's great because it downloads the schedule for you. You do have to have, with the Legacy box, you do have to have a $49 a year subscription for the guide, which downloads all the guide information so that you can, you just set it to record your favorite programs, just like TiVo does. You can record, you can view live programs while they're recording, you can rewind live programs, etc. And it can record up to 4 channels at the same time, 4 different programs coming in off your antenna at the same time. The older ones record an MPEG-4 at 1080p, and it looks good. The new ones just keep the format the same. Digital transmission on ATSC is MPEG-2, which takes up almost twice as much room on the hard drive as MPEG-4 does. So I get twice as much storage on my hard drive with the old version than I do with the new version. And the other thing is the old version offers a Tablo Anywhere app where you can log into it from anywhere on the internet and watch anything off your DVR at home. The new one does not allow you to do that. And since it's MPEG-4, it takes up less bandwidth when you're viewing it remotely. So basically what this Tablo box does is it takes your antenna reception, it encodes it and puts it on your network so that you can view it with an app that is available on both Mac, PC, and Linux, and in a web browser, I think, on anything in your house that has any type of streaming device on it and is hooked up to the internet in your local area network. So that's what I use, and it's very handy. It records all my programs, and it has a good interface that lets you just select a program and say only record the new ones or only record 4, and you keep rotating around. After you've recorded 4, start deleting them, deleting the oldest ones and recording the newest ones so you can manage your hard drive space. So it works very much like my TiVo, which I also have, which is sitting here unused since mine's a cable card TiVo, and I cut the cable years ago.
Go ahead, Chris.
I find that the world of television technology is insanely complicated, and I'm surprised people tolerate it. It used to be so nice when you could just plug in the TV, pull the rabbit ears out, you got a few channels, whatever. You didn't have all this other stuff, but it's so mind-numbing. If somebody could really crack the code and make television easy again. Is that a red hat? Can we make a red hat of that? If just make television easy again, it's so dumb. And honestly, I think the best solution for me, all I care about is my Apple TV. I know it's not the TiVo and it's not over the air. I get that, but it's crazy, isn't it?
It is, and I'm with Chris. I have, on all the TVs that are in the house, the only thing that's plugged into them is the Apple TV box, which is great, because even in the room where there's a projector and a 5.1 system, or I guess it's a 7.2 now, I put another subwoofer, but anyway, it's just an Apple TV. And what I love about it is that I have one remote, and anybody picks up this one remote, and everything just turns on and everything works. If I don't have direct experience with HDHomerun, but I do have the Tablo. So if you're curious what the Tablo looks like, this is plugged into the Ethernet in the upstairs, and now I have this Tablo app on the Apple TV, and then when I open that up, I get whatever's out there. When it records locally to the local hard drive, it is MPEG-4. It's just on the, and I have the one that Courtney was talking about, the white one that is newer and inferior to his, but he is correct. On external storage, it is MPEG-2. I had rabbit ears before, but now that this has the guide information, it just makes it feel like TV that I would have paid for. And what I am always a little careful of, though, is at some point they start advertising not your channel. So like right here, you can see, okay, the PBS that's coming in, the 54, that must be coming in from Kentucky if it's in the high numbers like that. But this one is the last actual channel that's coming in. Everything under this is they're advertising streaming channels to you. So how they're paying for this service is that at the bottom is that they start to give you things that aren't coming in over the air. And at first I was like, what? Like, how am I getting, these very obscure channels? Like, I don't remember OTA having that much. And then I realized what was going on. So that's the only thing to be mindful of with Tablo, is that's how they're paying the bills, by giving you some advertising in there. But if I want to watch Andy Griffith, it's coming on MeTV, and I'm a happy guy. I watched the one the other day where Opie goes out and gets all the dogs, and the guy from the state's going to come in and give him more money, and then they keep feeding the dogs, and then the dog brings his friends, and my wife makes fun of me because there I am watching black and white TV. But anyway, Courtney.
Well, I have, yeah, you mentioned one thing is that's the new one, the legacy. That's how they support the free guide. They do not charge you an annual fee for the guide on the version 4, which is the new one. The legacy does not have any of that advertising on it.
Ah.
And I have YouTube TV also as my, when I cut the cord to my cable, I use YouTube TV as my source of network television, etc. And it has a cloud DVR, but the problem with YouTube TV is it doesn't have any of the sub-channels, which I get in LA. We get all these great, some of the primary channels like Channel 4 have 5 sub-channels. That's where MeTV and the Movies channel, which is great. It plays a lot of great old movies like TCM, and it's free over-the-air broadcast. You don't get those on YouTube TV, so I can't get those, so I have to depend on my Tablo to pick up those sub-channels, which are usually 480p or sometimes 720p. So they're not full res, but you're looking at old movies anyway. So it still looks really pretty good as far as the recording of those sub-channels.
Yeah, my only problem with YouTube TV is that when it's not football season, I don't pay for it. So it goes away. So if I want to catch a live event that I care about, but not enough that I'm going to pay for the other, 4 or 5 months a year, I agree with Courtney. The OTA is really nice. What JJ said in the chat that he thinks they aired Old Yeller right after that episode, so everybody's getting a kick out of my OTA shenanigans. But I do love the chat, and that's just one of the best parts of office hours because if you're watching us on YouTube, I love that you're here, but the problem is you're missing half the show. We're on every morning at 7 a.m. in Makana. And we're live every day since March 25th, 2020, every single day. And so if you're here live with us, you can ask questions in real time. You can vote on the other questions to make sure that we answer what you're the most interested, what the audience is most interested in, but also you get to connect with our chat. So you can connect with folks like Rion and Danny and Brian and JJ. And there's a whole other conversation going over there with some of the smartest, most engaged professionals in this community. And there's a lot more than just watching. Be a part of it. officehours.global/join. Hope to see you tomorrow. Next question.
This one's from Kyle Nesta in Philadelphia. Any hardware recommendations or tips for building convenience panels into the back of a modular rack unit? I'm currently looking at D-series options and then he's got a link to BH Photo Video.
All right, Kyle, go Birds. Thank you. Guy?
Yeah, I would take a look at the Reddit video engineering group. I'll put a link in the chat to this group to get some ideas as to how other people do theirs. MarkerTech/TechNet is the place to go and really dig into these little small parts and pieces. Depending on how much money and time you have and how elegant you want it to look, I take the easy way out, which is to go to Redco. And Redco has something called the Simple and Advanced Designer. And once you're in here, you can say rack mount panel and however big you want it. So this is a 12 view, and then you just pick what you want. So I could say I want SDI here, so I want a BNC feed through, and then I add the connector, and so it's there. And maybe I want a couple of those. You just build it out however you want. But the idea is go to video engineering group, go check out what some other people are doing to get an idea as to what you might need in the future, because you might go, oh man, I didn't think about putting an Ethernet one in there, but now I can mount my router inside, and where's a rack mount for my router? And so you just start going down this rabbit hole of how to make this stuff easy to deploy when you get on site. But yeah, the convenience panel saves a lot of connectors, especially fragile HDMI connectors if they get yanked on in a show, and there goes that port. So I highly recommend Redco and building these out.
Ronnie?
Yeah, so I'm just looking in the chat as well, and it's so cool when people are thinking the same things. So one of the things I saw when you link to that panel specifically is that it's really dense. In the chat, that is also kind of frowned upon. Be sure to not use too dense panels, because when you are, let's say you're adding 10 SDI plugs in this, and maybe you're using recessed plugs, reaching into them and disconnect them in a hurry is really, really difficult. So make sure you have panels on multiple units instead of just trying to put everything in one unit. That's the first thing. And back to the thing I was talking about, the different type of plugs. make sure you're using Notric high-quality rear twist plugs like these ones. These will be a lifesaver, and it's much easier to reach in and disconnect, at least for SDI plugs. Of course, there is a lot of other plugs that you can put into these sockets as well, and make sure that you're using high-quality cables. And if you are in a pinch, make sure you can recess the whole panel inside so that you can keep a lot of the connections even if you throw on your back panel. And we are recently getting a new type of racks where we can adjust the back panel's depth so that we can put it inside the rack a little bit more than normal. And so we can have a lot of connections being made even if we put the panels on. So there's a lot of stuff to think about, but as long as you're using Notric for everything, and please make sure you get the rear twist versions of those ones.
And Mickey in the chat mentions another group to check out, the Black Box Builders group, as another one to look out in addition to Redco. Next question.
This question comes in from Rian Smith in Trinidad, West Indies. I see bitfocus offers buttons as a free tier. Is it better to use buttons instead of companion? And if not better but different, who is buttons versus companion for?
Good guy.
That's a good question. I saw it yesterday, and I was going to answer it, and I'm glad that it came back today because we got a little bit more time to spend on it. And it invoked David Brady yesterday saying, hey, could you jump into after hours after the show? And we kind of tumbled through a few of the other features that somebody might be looking for in using companion versus bitfocus buttons. So what I'm going to show you is the free tier, and a lot of us are using ATEM, so I'm going to show it to you with an ATEM hooked up. So some of the things that are different, and this is where I invite you to go to their YouTube channel. There's a bitfocus buttons tutorial section where there's just a bunch of videos, and especially for the routing and things that are super powerful that you just cannot do in Companion. So for most people, Companion is going to be great, especially since it's simple and you probably already know it. So what I'm going to show you might look a little scary, but it's not. It's really simple once you bang around a little bit. So here's what it looks like if you build. Yeah, it does look a little crazy, but it's actually pretty simple. This is a iPad mini setting that I started out with, and I just kind of grew it because think of this as just a big touch screen. So if I wanted to preview camera 6, you could see I could preview camera 6. If I want to change from, so this is basically preview and program up here. But then down here, I did a drag and drop. These are all just drag and drop, so I didn't have to make all these, and I'm going to show you that in just a sec. But I wanted to show you one of the amazing parts that you can't do in regular Companion is these popovers. So if I have a volunteer running this and I don't want them to accidentally press the stream stop button, I can put it underneath this pop-up, so as they're pressing buttons, they don't accidentally fat finger and stop the stream or stop the record. So I could hide those in popovers. And one of the other cool things about this is the workflows. So you could set the stream to just pop at a certain time. So you could say at 8:55 a.m. I want this to start. And so I know you could do it in Companion. It's just easier to do inside of here, inside of this area called workflows. So let me show you where that's at. So inside of the back end, here's where you could connect any device. And this is the crazy part, is I think that there's even more what do you call them, items that you could connect to than what's inside of regular Companion. So one of the benefits might be that you have like a bird dog, XYZ converter or something that has some presets that aren't inside of in Companion. So here's what I mean. Like if I go to this position, I go to this admin 2, that's the one. So when I go over here to the presets and I want to drag and drop my, let's say my ATEM preview rule, here's how easy it is to drag and drop that whole preview rule. So I didn't have to build all that. It just made all that itself. So you can use a regular Stream Deck 32 or a 16 or whatever, but you can also make these surfaces to be as big as you want. And this is one of the powerful things, is these presets that are in here that allow you to drag and drop 10 things at once. So it makes it super fast to create things. And then in that workflow area, save that. back in the workflow area. Here's where you have all this math and logic and change switch delays. And then here's the one I was talking about, the scheduler, where you can add a scheduler, and you could say, it's basically like an if this, then that, like when do you want this to happen and what do you want to happen? And it's node based. So you could say, this action happens at this time. So you're just dragging, the nodes like that. So lots of power inside of here. I hope that in how many minutes that was, 1 minute, 35 seconds, gives you an overview of why you might want to use buttons. And everything that I just showed was in the free tier. This isn't the paid. You do need to step up to the paid if you have more surfaces. And there's lots of reasons as far as NMOS and things that you can't do inside a companion, why the pros inside of trucks are going to want to use buttons instead. But you can use both.
Ronnie?
Yeah, so the question is, who is it for? And Guy, I think the demo will be very popular on YouTube Shorts, sure of. The thing is that Companion was the first iteration of automation. The idea came up on a train ride, the history says, between two cities in Norway. And they started to think about how can we automate these things that we are using all day, every week. And buttons is just a rethinking of the whole environment that we are using, and having an easy way to do very advanced integration between all those things that we are using from day to day. And button is also, as Guy said, it's much quicker to do very advanced stuff. So it is just the fact that you have all these automation rules that can do all these if-thens. You can actually just start up a whole system by hitting one button, and you can password protect that button, or you can even have an RF reader to protect everything behind this. So it's a little bit more professional product, but there is absolutely no reason why we in office hours or people that have pretty advanced home studios or small production facilities, even doing conferences, everybody should be looking into using buttons, because it's much faster and it does a lot more, and you can scale up your production by using it. So where you hit some limits in Companion, buttons will take you 3 or 9 floors up in just a few minutes. So who it's for? People that would like to do even more advanced stuff than what you can do with a Stream Deck and bitfocus Companion today. I would say all others that are using Companion today will also be able to do some fun stuff with buttons instead. And it's a free tier up to some limits. So just install it, start to play with it, and you will understand more and more as the development also includes new stuff. So buttons is, I would say, a little bit more aggressive on launching new functionality all the time, whereas bitfocus Companion is a little bit more open sourced, and people are doing stuff that are cool and that are maybe professionalized more in buttons. So that's, yeah.
And so you're able to throw in practice. How is it on the iPad? Is it fairly reliable, fairly quick to turn on and set up? See, that for me, that's huge, because I loved the idea of like the Stream Deck mobile app, and I was going to open up Stream Deck on the iPad and use an iPad that is older or doesn't have battery anymore, that can just be sitting on the desk, and it worked less than half the time, and I just gave up. And so the ability to have a system that was more robust, more reliable is very exciting. Earlier, I know we talked about officehours.global/join to get into Makana, but if you don't want to join and you just want to ask a question because it's right in your head right now and you don't have any room for anything else, check out askofficehours.global. That's askofficehours.global. It is open 24/7. So if you have a question right now, you're watching this later, you can just go to askofficehours.global, throw in your name, throw in your question, and we'll start rolling those in again on Monday. So check her out. Next question.
This one's from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. If you had to make a documentary film, where would you start? What subject would you choose? How would you fund it? And how would you distribute and promote it?
Courtney.
Well, Paul, if you had to make a documentary, which is how you posed your question, you have to really want to make a documentary, not have to make a documentary. So find a subject that you're really interested in. If you're a member of a group that is with that subject, let's say a group of woodworkers, or a group of birders, or a bunch of people that are interested in a baseball or soccer or some famous person, find a good subject before you start. Figure out what you want to base your documentary on. And then you're going to have to figure out how to fund it. You got to find people that are also interested in the same topic or subject. And then you approach that. You could use a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter campaign to maybe get it started, produce a short reel that covers the subject and outlines what you want to do. There's actually a YouTube channel called, it's called The Documentary Reel. So look at that. And they have things like, if you want to sell your documentary to the Discovery Channel, they have an outline there where it gives you pointers on how to do such a thing. Discovery Channel only really accepts documentaries from proven producers with a track record, but they do, I think, accept some if you can establish your credentials as a good producer. And that go to that channel, and they have a lot of information about how to get into the documentary and how to produce a documentary. The problem you're going to have these days is there's so much AI slop on YouTube that is documentary stuff that is cranked out in some farm somewhere in some foreign country, just designed to get the clicks and monetization, that you're going to be competing on YouTube if you put it on there. That is going to be trouble to get eyeballs. Another thing is to play it off over film festivals. So send it around to film festivals. You might attract a distributor that way at a film festival. And if you get a major name distributor, that's a good thing. Remember to hire a lawyer, because if you're doing a documentary about any famous person, living or dead, you may have to secure rights from the estate or the person. And that requires lawyers big time. So that's going to be an expensive part of producing a documentary if it involves any person or any proprietary object or subject.
Chris?
After being involved in that Netflix documentary that I was a part of, I realized I think most documentaries are just sales tools. But I think you have to really, like Courtney said, you really, really have to want to do it. It's a huge process. I know that the 3-part Amy Bradley documentary that I was in, I know that a big production team worked on that for over 2 years. I mean, bare minimum, at least 2 years. That was when I first heard about it to when it was on your TV. So it's a huge undertaking. But when you get involved with a big company, like I'm going to sell it to Discovery or whatever, you got to realize they're going to take most of the money. So I think the way to do it is to self-fund it. Distribution, I personally would just put it on YouTube, and I would get people to back it because they believe in it or they want the story told. And other than that, go on, do something else. I think documentaries are super, super hard.
Not only are documentaries really hard, but there are so many, even though there is the AI slop on YouTube, there are also so many people who are insanely passionate about very, very, very niche things that if there's somebody who is hyper-focused and hyper-interested in that one unique specific topic, and they have a way to execute that and have a little bit of production chops, even if it's not perfect, their passion comes through in those videos, and I find myself watching things that I would have never believed just because of how interested I am in it. And it's that hyper vertical content that I think we talk about on occasion here. If you are enjoying Office Hours, there are a couple ways you can help. You can like and subscribe to our channel. Of course, in YouTube, you can also volunteer. There's volunteer opportunities all around Office Hours, both during the show as well as not during the show. So we have a crew that runs this, and they're the foundation of what we do, and they make us look and sound good every single day, and we appreciate them dearly. But we also have a whole other group of volunteers who says, how can we get great panelists on? What do we want to do for special shows? How do we want to drive the show forward and keep us organized? So officehours.global/volunteer for those. Finally, if you want to contribute to the show financially, we are a nonprofit. You can go to officehours.global/donate, and we appreciate that as well because it's not necessarily cheap to run things, and everybody that donates, we truly do appreciate when you go to officehours.global/donate and help us because it means a lot. Next question.
This question is coming from Hazmat Gajar in Cape Town. Latest Zoom client update has auto framing in video settings. Took me by surprise when iPhone as webcam and ATEM was auto framing. I said when I cut to a slide on the ATEM, the slide image in program was also auto framing and threw me off. Comment.
Go ahead, Alexander.
Yep, it is awful, and I'm really surprised this was I don't understand why this was turned on by default, but yes, turn it off. It's horrible.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
I updated the client, and in my, I went from 0 to the version 2, which has, and in that version, it did not turn on the auto framing by default. So for anyone that is wondering why this is happening, Zoom is, of course, a client that is also being used by a lot of people that doesn't have professional setups or semi-professional setups even. And for those people, auto framing is godsend in most of the situations. It will try to use machine learning or kind of algorithms to try to replicate a good setup for that bad situation that this person normally is in, and replacing the needs for camera operators, etc. So in a professional settings, of course, you would probably shut that off, and at least the way many of us use Zoom, where we have a image switcher or a vision mixer in front of the Zoom camera that we are sending out to the Zoom platform, so that when you are adding a presentation in that camera feed, you obviously will have some problems using this functionality. So the discussion should be whether it's automatically turned on, or the way Zoom tells the consumer about this functionality. Maybe they should have a first open pop-up info box that tells you, oh, this is something cool and new. And if you're professional, please turn it off by clicking here. So this is of course something that is annoying and should be only shown the first time. But there are so many things and functionality that are really advanced inside Zoom. So there is no easy way to have all the setup for all the different types of users that are around the globe being perfect. So you still have to learn how to do that manually.
Guy?
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise for me because I'm beta testing Tahoe. So this is one of our products called the Ivy that's hooked up to this. And so what it did for me with that camera is it's a 4K camera, and this is the setting right here. It says auto frame my video. So I was just I beat up on this machine with software that we have, and I didn't have to install the other software that allows you to zoom in because it automatically punched in and started framing me up. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from? So for me, it was a pleasant surprise. So people, for the use of this product, they don't have to install this other software that we would use to zoom in. So Zoom's going for the lowest common denominator, and for a lot of people, this is going to be helpful. But for some professionals, it's going to be a little confusing. But they'll figure it out pretty fast.
Go ahead, Chris.
You know, I'll be the first to say I'm all for getting rid of the camera operators. They're kind of a pain, but at least they understand headroom. Guy, is it your... I haven't been able to make this thing work with my setup. Do you think it understands headroom, or is it the classic thing where it just puts the face hole in the middle of the frame? Does it know how to...
They know this thing called the Fenwick framer, and I think that they built that into there. So
Did they?
We'll have to ask Andy. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm just making stuff up.
No, I mean, just saying. I'm saying to Zoom, if you'd like, I'm sure we could get you all kinds of help in terms of like teaching engineers who are engineers how to frame a camera shot. Because I have yet to see anything that's like automatic, give me a shot that I don't want to change.
Yeah, it's like it always is. It's a 16:9 frame with 4x3 headroom is what I always feel like. Or then
it's like
it's even more than that.
Designing the frame. It's like they're designing the frame for an upper third or something.
Right.
You know,
it's like have it come
ridiculous.
down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Zoom said, hey, here's what's new, and actually said something about this, or not. So I don't want to, I'm not getting mad at Zoom right here. I'm getting mad at software developers in general. So when you make new features for your product and you tell me about it, as soon as I open your product, that is the worst time to tell me about your new feature. I am opening this application because I am on a mission and I have a job to do. And so I'm clicking that button to make that thing go away as fast as possible. And you know what you don't do? Give me an option to see the what's new. Again, you should have a little notification go in the corner of your application somewhere, have it be a little badge on your dock icon or whatever, or taskbar if you're on a PC. And then when I hover over it, like have it be a hidden window or something, but have some way to easily resurface that. And some people have a what's new menu item, but not everybody does. And when you change stuff and then you just put up that you're changing stuff at the most inopportune time, then people close it and now stuff has changed and they don't know why. It doesn't make sense. But we've all accepted like that's the time to do it. I don't know who just opens up the application just because. I open up the application because I am on a mission to get a job done. Okay, Ronnie?
Yeah, just really, really quick. There is a broadcast later today from some YouTube channel called the Zoom Test Kitchen, where I guess this will be tested endlessly.
Thank you so much for our panel being here today, coming in, bringing all your life experience, decades of experience, came here to answer your questions because that's what we do every single day. So thank you for coming and making it happen for us. Also, again, thank you to our back-end crew for everything you do both during and around the show. And finally, to our producers for asking such great questions. I never know where I'm going to end up at the end of a Friday, but I always learn stuff because you come up with the darndest stuff. Talalic Traversal today, if we would have had to go around and ask these questions in person, that would have been 29,000 miles. That's 47,000 kilometers, 233 million bananas for scale. We'll see you in after hours.
Okay.
We made it. I'm going to take a nap.
Maybe we need to go make a documentary on, how to set Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, at what point do you have to make a documentary? You have to make a documentary.
Good. Twisting my arm. I gotta go make a documentary. I'm sorry.
And I was thinking about, I would probably make, if I was given the opportunity to make a documentary about something that I was weirdly passionate about and given budget, I would probably make it on math that's in music.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I learned how to play the piano with like chord formulas and music theory, and so for 14 years I played just with math. You want to see this plus 4 plus 3, and then I just brute force that.
That's
and
super interesting. I'd watch that.
That is.
I learned
I'd watch it.
I learned how to read music 14 years in.